Hello again. Here we are to continue our discussion of the Swift programming language. And, in the last video, we introduced the idea of functions and some of the basic ideas of writing functions in Swift with their parameters and their return type. And this video will continue talking about functions. So in the last video, we noticed that functions have a return type and they can have named parameters, each with a type. Okay, so this function returns a string. If we try to assign the return type to something else, we'll get an error. So we saw that if we tried to return something inside the function that didn't match the return type, we saw an error. And also we'll get the same thing if we try to assign the value to something that has the wrong type. So in other words, if I have a variable that is type int, if I said, other stuff equals return something, and return something always returns a string, then here I'll get an error, right? It says cannot assign value of type string to type int because this function returns type string and this variable is type int, right? Also, if you option click on a function, you'll get a description of the declaration for that function, and it'll tell you, what parameters it takes and their type, and it'll also tell you the return type, okay? So this is not going to work, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so one other thing. If you have a string in Swift and you want to combine it with a variable, for example, if I have the variable 22, and I want to create a description string, and I want to say and I want to print the value of the variable here, right? You can use this backslash parentheses and then put an expression inside there and then incorporate that in the middle of your string, okay? You can actually do this too. I didn't do it here, but if you wanted as an alternative, you could have written it like this. So kind of like in JavaScript, you can use the plus sign like that, and that actually is actually valid too. Oh, actually, I made a mistake. This works also, except we would need to convert this to a string here. There we go, right? So this would be acceptable if we did a conversion to a string. This kind of does the conversion automatically, okay? So anyway, that's just a side note there. Usually this is kind of the best way to do that, so or to combine elements into a string. This is kind of the preferred way, but this does exist, okay? And there's another couple examples, right? So let's talk about the challenges, right? So the goal here is to create a function that prints your name using print, okay? Second, call or invoke the function that you just wrote. And then third, write a function that takes a string as a parameter, and it should print a star 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 before and after the input string, okay? And then there's a couple more here. So you can try those on your own, and I'll walk through them maybe in the next video. So if you want, you can check the solutions there against your work.